this game I played against the international master from Spain. Let's see how did it go. So my opponent started e4, I played c5, knight f3, d6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight on f6, knight c3 and a6. Actually I expected this continuation because my opponent usually plays like that, and I saw his games on the internet. Bishop g5, knight d7. I expected this variation. But what I did not expect was bishop c4. Usually they continue like f4 or queen d2 or queen e2, or there are many other variations. But my opponent played bishop c4, which is quite uncommon for me. And there was like moves like queen c7, queen b6, h6, different variations, and I decided to play queen c7 after I was thinking so much here. My opponent played bishop b3 and I played g6. Well, there was other moves like h6, probably b5, but I decided to play g6 here because I wanted to develop my bishop on g7 logically. Queen e2 and I played bishop g7. I just want to simply develop my pieces, castle, and continue playing like that. Castle and castle. Actually, castle was not great move here. It would be much better if I would play h6 to let this bishop leave g5 square, and after bishop on h4 moves like castle, and it's actually normal position for me here, even though white still has slightly better position because Najdorf is usually tough to play for black, but still. But here I played castle. So I expected that my opponent would start attacking from h4, h5, but he played f4 here, which was quite inaccuracy because f4 just gives me possibilities to play moves like b5 or e5 or knight c5. But I decided to play here e5. I wanted to remove this knight from d4 square. He took, and I took with knight. I was thinking different moves like, well, I have only two options, either take pawn with knight or take with pawn. So I didn't like taking with pawn because after knight on f3, I felt that my opponent would get d5 square and etc. But actually it's quite good for me because I would play b5 here, and if he tried to play knight d5, I can just simply take. And if he takes with bishop, here is just bishop e7, and it's actually good for me if I trade these light square bishops and attack king side. But I decided to take with knight, which is quite inaccuracy because it gives me weak pawn on d6. Bishop f6, again inaccuracy from my opponent. He should not have given me this bishop on in exchange of knight. He should have just played probably moves like rook on f1 or queen on f1 to attack knight on f6, and then I would get quite complicated position. But he took on f6 with bishop, I took, knight d5. It's still better for white as they have initiative, strong knight on d5, and they're attacking my pieces. So I did not really feel comfortable in this position, but I had to continue playing. Queen d8, king b1. Well, he should have been more active here. As he has advantage, he should continue this advantage and he should play more active here. So knight on f6, queen on f6, and probably moves like h4 would be much better in order to attack king side. Well, he did not do that and he played king b1, and I played here bishop g7, and I think I'm okay here. I have pair of bishops, I have strong knight on e5, even though d6 is weakness here, I still have something to do. And he plays rook on f1 and bishop g4. Well, actually instead of bishop g4, b5 would be good move also in order to play knight c4 in future, maybe bishop b7, etc. But bishop g4 is normal move also. I want to develop my bishop and at the same time attack white. Knight f3, rook c8. Still here would be moves like b5 possibility, but I felt like rook c8 is logical move to develop my rook and I take king. h3, and I played bishop e6. Actually, I was thinking moves like bishop on f3, knight on f3, and would be much better to take with knight. But I did not like h takes g4 and then knight g5. I felt like if white would open h file, it would be better for them to attack. So that's why I decided to play bishop on e6. So my opponent played knight e3. Actually, he should have just simply taken, and then rook on f3, attack my king side, g5 maybe in future, but he played knight on f3. And I played b5. Still, I had possibilities like queen on e7, or take this knight on f3. And actually, this would be much better because I would just simply open diagonal. But I played b5, queen d2, and knight c4. Instead of knight c4, it would be much better to play knight on f3. And if it takes with g-pawn, I would just simply play like bishop on h3, and I'm just simply taking this pawn. So he's forced to take with rook, and then I would just simply trade and then play queen on e7, and it's better for me. So it did not happen like this. I did not take on f3, and I played knight c4. So after knight c4, he took with bishop. It was strong move. He can't take with knight because here is pawn c4, and if bishop on a4, here is just bishop b2, and white is losing game. So he played correct move. Bishop c4, take with pawn, and c3. So it's like equal, but both of us have good play here. Queen on a5, knight d4, queen e5, just attacking pawn on e4. Queen c2 and rook e8. Actually, I was thinking many variations here, like bishop d7, rook d8, rook c5, etc. But I think that rook c5 would be nice move in order to play d5, and then bishop d7. Also, bishop d7 would be also good move in order to play rook e8 and attack pawn on e4. But it's not a mistake to play bishop d5, but rook c5 would be still good move in order to use rook in attack and attack knight on d5. Here I was pretty inactive. I kind of got scared, I guess. I don't know why, probably because knight c6 is kind of better for white. So I should have played here more active move like h5 probably, or moves like queen on e3. But I played queen on h5. And here I was calculating after knight on c6, rook e2, and then I blundered g4. So I solved it, and that's why I realized that queen on h5 was a mistake here. But it's not a decisive mistake, so thankfully it was not that bad. Queen e2. Instead of queen e2, would be better f5, just simply not to let g4 and push my pawn forward. Queen e2, rook f2. Instead of rook f2, he should have calculated to trade this queen on e2, but usually they don't trade queens because usually players like playing with queens. It's pretty common, it's really rare that someone trades queens unless it's winning for them, so that's why he played rook on f2, queen e3, rook on f3, and queen c5. Yeah, I didn't want to go back to queen g5 because then I didn't see any point of playing queen on e2, so I played queen c5, and now he played queen on f2, which is pretty good move. And I really didn't like this position at all. Rook e4, but I have to be active here. I didn't want to lose game. a4, rook on e8, king on a2, which is bad move, and rook on e2. Instead of rook on e2, maybe it would be much better to play f5, but as I said, I wanted to create some attack where my opponent would make some mistakes, which really happened here. So that's why, even though like Engine of course says the best moves, you are human, you play against human, so they might not see the best moves, of course. They might consider some things which actually does not exist, but they consider that, so that's why you should be as active as possible. So rook on e2 was good move, rook d2, and rook e1. I still have wars, but see, my rooks are pretty active, kind of like bishop h6 hanging. They can't do as much, so I'm pretty good psychologically. And that's why he started making mistakes. a5, bishop on h6, rook c2, and king g7. Yeah, it would be nice to play f5 also, just simply to get center, but I really wanted to delve my pieces faster and get into action like faster. Knight d4 and rook d1. I was thinking to play rook 1 e5, but somehow I didn't like this move. And here I have bishop on e3, which I did not see, unfortunately. So even if the rook on fe2, I still have bishop on f3 and d5 is hanging. I really did not see that. I did not have enough time and I was so tired. It's really hard to play morning rounds, and especially international against the international master, and especially when you have to stream same time. Rook on e2, rook e5, knight c6, I took, and rook d5. In this moment I was thinking that I was winning game, but it's really hard to win a game actually, even though you're winning during game. Rook on e7, rook c5, rook c7, and bishop f4. Yep. King on a3 and bishop c1. I was thinking here to play d5, rook c8, and then bishop d6, but I hear he would play king on a4, so I really don't see how can I win here. Probably d4, and if c takes d4 or c3, but that's so hard to calculate, like in like 5 minutes, so tired. It's like Carlsen level to calculate this, so I couldn't really do it. Sorry, my viewers. Bishop c1 and king b4. Yeah, rook c8 would be much better probably, and I was thinking to play rook b5, but yeah, here's rook b8. It's really hard to calculate all of this. So he played king b4, I took. I was thinking that I'm already winning this, but it's just so hard. Rook on a8 and rook c5. I was thinking that it's already won. Probably I should have played bishop e1 here, and if takes c3, knight d4, rook b4, and then rook d4 is just simply win, which I couldn't really see. I had so short time, and I was scared that he's taking my pawn on a6 and that he would get counterplay. That's human mind. Yeah. Rook on a6, bishop a1. Yeah, would it be better to push pawn on d5? I really don't know why I did not do that. Bishop d2 and yeah, a6, c3, knight b4, c2. Yeah, it's pretty sad that I did not push d5 pawn. I really don't know why I did not do it. I don't know, I got so scared of like a5 pawn, probably that's why I did not do all of this. Bishop e1, knight d4, and I blundered d6 pawn. h5 is really hard to see. It's a really engine move here, like who is gonna play h5? Rook d6, bishop e1, rook on a6, bishop c3, and king on h6. It's really hard to make moves like king on h6. It's logical, but it's just so hard. Like, look, like Inji says that I should play king on h6, but then it just makes it equal. So yeah, you should use your human mind. As human mind, I think that a5 is pretty active, so he might start counterattack. So after rook e5, I just offer the draw, and he immediately accepted. Well, I think he thought like few seconds. Well, it was really nice game. I'm really happy the way I played after all of these conditions that I'm feeling sick. Same time, it was in the morning, early morning, and I'm streaming and doing content, so I think I'm doing good, and I'm really happy after this result, even though I was winning, but I'm really still happy with draw. And if you like this video, make sure to give thumbs up and hit the subscribe button.